All right, folks, we had some recording glitches. If you see any video issues, sorry, but we have a complete broadcast, and I know what's causing the problems. Let's go.
In the vein of C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien meeting at the Eagle and Child, this is the Broodcast, Inkling-style Discord chat, last Friday of every month. To join our ranks of writers and artists, please visit joshuadavidling.com/brood. And now, the Broodcast on the Poets at War Creative Network.
We're lying, we can't warn it yet. Our imaginations run wild and free. In Middle-earth or Narnia, there's magic in what we believe.
Is this Ryder?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Glad to
Doing
have you
well.
here. Alex should be along in about an hour or so. We're just getting ready to get started. I'm just firing up the recording and all that other kind of stuff. So I'm Joshua. Good to meet you.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Awesome. Nice to
Aaron
meet
and
you.
I.
Nice to meet you.
That's Braden.
Awesome.
Yep. Aaron and I are brothers. We live quite a ways apart, or like about an hour and a half apart. So yeah.
Yep.
If no one has anybody explained to you what the Broodcast is yet?
I think I got a brief rundown in the email between Joshua and I.
Okay, so
I think
imagine
it was actually
like
between you and Alex, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
basically, it's a virtual campfire where we go around taking turns and sharing creative projects and works that we're working on. And there's like, I'm gonna pass that over to Joshua. There's X number of people that listen in here and there. So I was looking at your YouTube channel, and you got quite a few subscribers.
Yeah, I wasn't really anticipating my videos to go the way they did.
Yeah, how many was it again? It was like 6,000 more.
The one video has almost 70,000 now.
Nice.
Which one is that?
Let's see, what is that one? Oh yeah. What was it? Dear Christian filmmakers, stop making faith-based movies.
There you go.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, and I was so excited whenever I saw that you were joining the Brood, because it's like, we need a guy with this kind of reach.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you, because 110%, like I really hope you find something here tonight worth promoting. It would
Not
just
promoting
be
necessarily, but like it's something
Yeah,
that
no,
as far as friendship more than anything. Come on, man. That's the main thing.
Right. That's really what I mean. But like that piques your fancy, piques your interest.
So I write epic poetry. That's sort of my vein of things. I'm trying to bring back epic poetry to mainstream. It's poetry, and it's more of a modern vernacular, but it's epic poetry, epic serial poetry. And I really think that as soon as people realize that you don't have to write just Dr. Seuss stories in rhyme, you can actually create something really amazing, because that's what songwriters have been doing throughout the 20th century. Just, they've kind of been the troubadours, and everything kind of shifted to the music industry, and we all know how the music industry's gone. But that's sort of my thing. Daniel and Aaron sort of work together. They're I don't know if you know the Sherman Brothers from Disney years ago.
Hold on, I have to look them up. It's been a while.
Yeah, they're the guys who wrote all like Mary Poppins and a lot of those old songs and stuff for those. And
yeah,
Aaron and Daniel are kind of sort of our Sherman brothers in that they're constantly trying to figure out how to work with each other because they know they need each other.
Yeah.
We kind of fill each other's blanks. I typically like to focus more on the character psychology, and kind of get in their head a little bit. And I'm more of a visual thinker, so whenever I piece together a scene, it's typically very action forward. And when my brother steps in, we'll kind of let him explain how he writes. But
Well, mine is definitely. I tend to write more. You would not expect this whenever you hear like the world that I've built, but I tend to write more low drama conversations than anything. And but the world is really high fantasy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's a good introduction to the ones who are here. We will see a bunch of other people trickle in throughout the night. We're going to be starting in well, we're started technically. I always kind of just put in a little bit of the beginning at each one, but I'm still working on that, trying to figure it out. But we've been doing Broodcast for about 2 years, something like that at this point, and it's been our Inkling meeting. You know the Inklings and all that, and so we've just been trying to keep each other's spirits up and moving forward. We have several other people with several other projects, and we just pick something and share it, and it goes on my podcast and that sort of a thing. So Alex turned me onto your channel a little while ago. I've really enjoyed it. I've been probably watching you for maybe 5 or 6 months now, something like that. I haven't been watching every single video, but I really do appreciate what you do. And
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I miss some of my filmmaker type friends with a lot of drive for that kind of creativity that, have come and gone over the years. I've been involved in so many things for so many years, on YouTube, etc. My sister and I actually had a fairly big review channel back when reviews were a big deal, like Nostalgia Critic Days and stuff like that. And so I've been doing YouTube since 2007, but I've been making videos since like 2003. I'm 35. I had to think about it. And so we have people everywhere from, I don't think, am I the oldest in the Brood? I don't think so. I think, Marty would be the oldest in the Brood.
Yeah, Marty.
But also, Michael Bush is in his 30s. A lot of people are in their 20s. Yep. And we have a few that are late teens, that sort of a thing. Like Zach, Zach have been active lately, but he's in here. So
it's definitely a bell curve where 30 is kind of the average, I'd say, right?
Somewhere between 25 and 30, I'd say. So
yeah, so it's definitely there somewhere.
But yeah, do you have anything that you want to share tonight, Ryder, or are you here mostly as an observer and and offer critique?
I mean, I just thought that it was awesome that you guys have such a tight-knit community of creative thinkers. So
I love these guys.
I mean, I don't know that there's any critique that I could offer in a group of such well thought out stories from individuals like yourselves, but I'm happy to observe and glean what I can or offer anything.
Yeah, we like all feedback, whatever it is, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Just the encouragement is a big deal, but also, like, if you have any critique or thoughts or whatever, like, we're all people who are trying to strive toward the way God makes stories, as best as we can, and we have different emphases and different things like that, but anything you want to add, like, we want you to be as welcome here as everybody else, man. Like, we need more people to actually take the fellowship side of creativity seriously, because if we don't, everyone's just going to be an island unto themselves and we don't get anywhere.
Yes.
And we spiral into nonsense. So, But yeah, it's not good for man to be alone. All that.
Speaking speaking of the community side of creativity, I've been thinking for a while now that maybe this whole obsession that we have about making books is kind of misplaced
We?
because we consume
I
books.
don't make books.
Not that we. I'm talking about the creative culture in general.
Oh, okay, yeah. As a
It may be a
format.
bit misplaced. Yeah, as a format, focusing on that as a format may be a bit misplaced because we generally consume books as an individual medium, and art needs to be more something that brings people together, which means that that if it's going to do that, it has to be experienced in a community in some way.
Yeah.
I think that it's more immediate with film, but people do read books in large groups. It's just less so. There's a lot less reading in general these days.
Yes.
So,
but what I am considering is that maybe books should be seen more as a standard for how a story should be told, but the telling of the story itself should be able to happen in many ways. I'm thinking maybe we need to get more back to the kind of bardic traditions of just telling people stories.
I agree with that.
In group.
So,
well, like it's kind of my dream to be able to take Aaron and I's books into like the circles I run in. I work with children, especially special needs children. But being able to take our books into the libraries and take over those story time hours and fill them with good things.
Yep. Braden, are you sharing tonight?
I might share some thoughts, but
no new poems.
Fleshed out enough on anything new to share yet. It's still very rough.
Okay. Well, so far we've got Aaron, myself, and
unless you want me to share the poem that I shared in the Brood.
You can if you like to. That's entirely up to you. If you feel like you're up to it tonight, then sounds good. Right now we have myself, Aaron, and Joel sent one in via email. I think Brendan is going to be here in a little bit. I know that that Alex and Debbie will probably be here about an hour in. And so anyone else we shall see. But let's go ahead and
I was just wondering, did you want to count it that I was sharing? It was just a story idea I've been brewing and developing.
Yeah, you can do that. I thought, I didn't know if you were or not. You were kind of back and forth, so I'll count you as sharing as well.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to. My mind is just trying to get a note done for work.
Well, in that case, Aaron, do you want to start us off tonight?
If there's some smaller stuff we can start off with, I would prefer that.
Why don't we do Braden's poem?
I think you need some setup.
I'll do my poem then.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Not a problem. Yeah, Alex and Debbie, his wife, are working on getting some things restructured with what we're doing, trying to get a bigger audience, that sort of a thing. Ryder and everybody else. We've been working a lot. Brendan has been involved as well. Ryder, do you know Glenn Sunshine?
No.
Okay. He's a history professor guy, sort of in that Lewis E. Tolkien vein. He's one of the hosts of the Theology Podcast. Brendan is his son, and he's a regular part of this group. I just thought you might know of him because he's written some books and stuff. So, but yeah. So let's see here. Braden, are you about ready? What'd you say, Braden?
A question for you. Do you want me? I'm okay with either. Do you want me to share the full version, or do you want me to share the censored version?
I don't remember what would be censored. I'm fine with either, really.
Okay.
Full version.
I know it's dark. I know it's a dark poem. It's about a dark subject matter, but like I don't see any issue with what's in it. You know, like
okay.
it's intense. So we can say trigger warning, I guess, for anyone listening. But like, it's a dark poem. Take with it what you will. But it's meant to accurately portray the darkness. So like, it's not gratuitous. We can get to it. Rock and roll.
I've lived with trauma I can't explain. The shadows linger, they leave their stain. I didn't tell you all I've seen, the places dark where I have been. I've watched my life flash in the sky, yet here I stand, I still ask why. Held the gun, pulled the trigger, but God stepped in as my savior. He stopped the bullet in its path, dispelling darkness, silencing wrath. Through trials deep, through loss and pain, I stand today, his grace my gain. So hear my voice, let my heart proclaim, I stand redeemed in the Lord's great name. Not all wounds are visible, not all scars are bare. Some pain is hidden deep, yet shapes the hearts we wear. For burdens born in silence, in shadows kept concealed, hold truths unspoken, veiled, until in light revealed. Not all tears are wept, nor every cry is heard. Some grief is held in stillness, unspoken by a word. The chains that bind the spirit, the weight that bends the knee, are forged in secret fires, unseen by those who see. Yet hope endures in whispers, in embers faint but bright, a spark that breaks the darkness, a beacon in the night. For wounds though deep may heal, and scars may yet inspire, a soul is refined through trials, like gold within the fire. Though storms have raged and waves have tossed, his love has anchored all I thought was lost. No force on earth, no flood nor flame, can shake the strength found in his holy name. For every fall, he's lifted me high. Through every doubt, he's answered my cry. The road may be long, the night may be cold, but his promises endure. They never grow old. Through valleys shadowed, through darkest despair, I found his mercy waiting there. His hand has led where my strength has failed, a love unbroken, a grace unveiled. Let this song rise from the depths of my soul, as hymn of the one who's made me whole. For now I stand unshaken, redeemed, a child of his kingdom, as he always deemed. So I'll walk forward through trial and flame, carrying the banner of his holy name. My scars are a testament, my pain is a story of a life restored for his endless glory. And that's it.
Very well done. I'll tell you a little bit more about what I thought of it when I first read it. I know a lot about your life, and I was just those aren't necessarily specifics to your life, but the theme of everything that you gave is a very good representation of what a lot of people deal with. It reminds me a little bit of, do you guys remember, are you old enough to remember, any of you, the Lifehouse Everything skit that was done at all the different like non-denominational Baptist churches back in the day? He does.
Yes, I actually know what you're all I want.
Yeah, you're all I need, you're everything. Yeah.
I got like roped into being like the director's assistant of like 3 of those.
They're very
I
confused.
know what you're talking about.
They're very confused. Do you want to explain what this is, Daniel? What I'm referring to? This is the better version of that. That's what I'm trying to say, by the way.
Goodness, I'm trying to remember how it goes now. Like I know what you're talking about.
You don't need to be super detailed.
Mainly because,
but basically, it was
it's like this highly dramatized skit where you have a bunch of like high schoolers acting out some like really intense subject matter, like drugs and going to like a party and getting pregnant as a teenager straight out of high school and like falling
and it's
away
all
from
like
the
ballet,
Lord
basically. It's like ballet to this pop song.
Yeah, and like you get like this like really emotional, like heavy, like soft rock song. I forget what the song is.
Everything by Lifehouse. It's actually a pretty good
Yeah,
song.
it's
I love the band. They do good stuff. They're Christians who had some crossover hits. Anyway, point being that there's a person playing Jesus, and Jesus like literally saves her from the demons and suicide like through the thing, and is like fighting them all off, and it's all ballet, right? Like it's literally like silent ballet while this song is playing, and it was like a big thing that youth groups were doing back in the late 2000s,
I
something like
helped
that.
I helped choreograph so many of those fight scenes so many times. I remember I was like a 12-year-old kid teaching 17 and 18-year-olds how to throw a fake convincing punch. Like
Good stuff.
doing the whole thing where you're like holding your hand and
Yeah.
you do the
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean.
So my point is, this is the better version of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, you can look up Lifehouse Everything skit, and you'll find myriads of versions of it. All right. Other thoughts on the poem from folk? Aaron, Daniel, Ryder?
Yeah. As you were reading that out, I could definitely sense the emotion that you poured into it. And I thought it was really well thought out how you put out the descriptions and the rhythm.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, no, I really liked it. I have a harder time following along to things, and your enunciation and everything made it very easy to follow along.
I want to actually thank you. You shared something with me a few months back that inspired me to write that.
Daniel
Me?
did?
Yeah. Oh, thank you, dude.
You can look back at our DMs. It's a song.
Oh, I shared a song.
Yep.
It wasn't Lifehouse.
Nope.
Oh boy. All right. Well, Aaron, you got your stuff together?
Do you have things that other people have asked you to share?
Yes, I can do Joel. Yeah, I usually do Joel later, but I can do Joel or I can do mine. Either way.
You could do yours.
Or I could do Daniel's. Either way, if Daniel's interested in doing his yet, or if he wants to wait.
I mean, I don't really have. All I have is just a story idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out the start point for it. I don't have to get into it right now.
All
My
right.
head's still sort of trying to finish up a note. I'm almost done with it.
Okay.
Thing
well, in that
is,
case, yeah, go ahead.
What I have so much stuff I could share, but last time I shared what was probably the best thing I've written so far, which was a chapter called Chicken Sea, and that broadcast got corrupted, so that's not public information anymore.
You could do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should, honestly.
You think
who
I should
all was
do it
here
again?
for that?
Jesse was
the
here.
only person who wasn't here
think.
for that was Ryder. In terms of the people here, but of course,
okay.
The rest of the
I was
party
busy. I was
Yeah.
busy corralling our nieces away from the recording.
Yeah, everyone
Okay.
can hear. Everyone can hear the recording later. As far as that goes, if you want to share that.
All right, and I am going to try. So what I'm going to do this time. Last time I read the chapter as I had written it, but I am trying to. I'm trying to just get into a storytelling, get a more general storytelling ability. So this time I am actually going to do something a little different. I'm going to basically try and summarize the story up to the point I want to get to, and then I am just going to try and retell the story in my own way up to the point that I've written, but not in the exact way I've written it down.
Ryder, the one who just popped in and then popped away, is Brendan Sunshine, just so you know. He waved, and I'm sure he'll notice you're here and everyone's here later. But any which way, we'll go ahead and get to Aaron. Rock and roll, man.
Okay.
All right. So how do I want this to begin? All right.
He's given a recap of the story so far.
Yeah, I'm going to try and re-summarize the story up to the point I've written, and then get into that best chapter that I have so far. Blood stained the sword, mortal's blood. Carlos's sword was stained with mortal blood. The city of Edendale burned, and the sons of the dragon flowers bled beneath him. The 6 houses of the Dragonflower dynasty, the rulers of Zirconia, had resisted the Naturan Empire for far too long. It was time for them all to come into the immortal kingdom. But they would not come. Yes, their leader, the House of Jace, he renounced his faith. He submitted. And some would submit, others would not, and they would die, and their blood would spill out on the halls of wisdom. But they all renounced the promise that a member of their house would kill the last elder. All except for one. The heir of the house Adarian, he knelt, eyes unflinching. He refused to renounce the promise. So Carlos cut off his head. That night, the Emperor of Zalaf sounded horns outside of the city. 1,000 soldiers jumped out of holes in the ground. They destroyed Carlos's army, and he and his brother fled the city. But the house of Adarian, it was dead. At least for now. Because the 6 houses were not fools. They did not let all of their heirs be known. Every single member of the Dragonflower dynasty was hunted by witches throughout his entire life. Some were allowed to have a public identity, but others were kept hidden. And the heir of the House of Darien sat somewhere in secret. 150 years after these events occurred, there was a man named Alev in the town of Numadon. He was part of the Order of the Silver Swords, and he had a man with him named Sulesser. The people of their town had been sending them complaints about monsters outside of the village, which were terrorizing the farmers and all of that. So Alev and Sulesser walked out of the city in order to find the place where these monsters came from. And after months of searching, they found a cave, and in this cave they found the eggs and wombs of monsters. And they destroyed it as best as they could until the keeper of the cave came to meet them. They did not kill the keeper of the cave immediately. They needed information. But they were quite effective at keeping him restrained. "What are you doing here?" Alev asked him. "What does it look like?" the keeper said. "I mean, let's just get to business. You caught me. I want to get out of here. I don't want to die. So how about we just make a deal that I get out of here?" It's not going to be that simple, Alev said to the keeper. Tell me what you're doing here. The keeper replied, look, you know what I'm doing here. I have this cave of monsters. That means that I was sent by the witch. You know that. We both know that. That's obvious. And why was I sent by the witch into the middle of Zirconia? Obviously, to hunt House Adarian. You are a member of the Order of Silver Swords. I'm also meant to kill you. But you got me trapped in this, big box. I can't. You won. Can we accept that? Can you let me go? Alev said, why would I let you go? Well, basically, that's what Alev's job is. And his deputy Celesser. They killed the guy, they went back home, and later on, they captured another guy who seemed a bit suspicious, but he was an upstanding. He was a citizen of their village, but he had an unusual hair color, and so they pulled him aside and asked him what was going on. And eventually, he decided to reveal that he was a spy, and that, from what he could tell, Alev, he was the Eridarian. And Alev did not like that, because it was true. And so, he killed that spy. But, rushing home, extremely anxious, he went to his farm full of chickens, and he began to use his silver sword to create a variety of contraptions that would test these chickens for signs of unnatural intelligence. His wife came out, her name was Lena, and she told Darian, you're acting absolutely insane. What are you doing? And he replied, I'm testing these chickens for signs of intelligence. And she says, why are you doing that? And he says, I need to know if my chickens are spies. And Lena, she replies, Darian, your chickens are not spies. This is the very reason that we have chickens. Don't you know how this works? You know, like, witches, they can control animals, right? They can take over animals. We know that. That's why we aren't allowed to have cows or pigs or anything like that. But, you know, birds that used to fly, they're protected by a different elder. They can't be spies unless it's like a blue elf or something, but those are so rare, it's not going to happen. You're just being insane. Your chickens are not spies. Adarian eventually gave up the fight. He let his wife convince him that things would be fine. But things were not fine. That night, there was a chickensy that walked to the door of the deputy. They said, Mister, your sheriff's gonna die. They said, he is Eridarian. Get up, else you'll bury him. Witches are coming to his house tonight. Then the deputy got up and said, how do you know that he'll be dead? You are 5 strange chickens. Why should I believe one single word that you have said? They said, we were sent by prophets from another world. The prophets of thy Turo who hide the pearl. We were sent by men truly wise to save your king that we knew would die. You are blue elves, some strange Naturans. No, we are your greatest friends. Though you do not know us, though you haven't helped us, we will be with you to the end. The 5 chickens that were hiding in the Darian's chicken coop, but escaped whenever he did these strange chests, were named Harold, Jacob, Job, Dunn, and Lipple. And these 5, led by Harold, who wrote the 4 spoken proem, went up to the door of Sulesser's house and banged into it, throwing their entire body. And then they shouted, "Gawk! Gawk!" And they threw themselves at the door in turn order, 13 times in total. Sulesser Nimi Mariendo, Alev Adarian's deputy, opened the door wearing nothing but trousers. "Who is trying to wake me up at night?" "Who the hell is trying to wake me up at night," is what he actually said. But Harold, when he wrote his version of the events, he decided to change the words "who the hell" to "who in the world," because he is a very religious man and doesn't like cursing. That is why he is leading the Chicken Sea, after all. This book will also copy the ridiculous alternative curse language that he used in every place where he felt the need to use it. When Sulesser finally saw the chickens, he nearly fainted. Harold used his wings to show respect and bowed to Sulesser. "I am Harold. I am a lowly man sent by the prophets of Thyturo to your world in order to protect your king, who will slay the last elder. And these are my fellow workers sent with me, Jacob, Dunn, Job, and Lipper." Lipper? "Job? Like the place where you work?" Sulesser asked. "Yes, like the place that you work," Harold replied. Sulesser went back inside, grabbed a bucket, vomited into it, and then went back out to look at these chickens. He leaned on the door to support himself. He was very faint. What in the world are 5 chickens doing at my door, talking to me? "We are here to protect your King Adarian," Harold said. Sulesser held on to the doorframe as he lowered himself to the ground. He crossed his legs. "We have no King Adarian," he said. "Oh, my sugary lemons! You are going to have to explain this to me. Who the sailor are you? Where in the world do you come from?" Harold sighed. "I've already explained myself, but we have been sent by the prophets of Thyturo. We are from Thyturo. We have come here to help you because your King Adarian is in danger. Witches are hunting him. Witches have found him, and they are going to attack his house tonight." What in the window? Did I smoke something this evening? I don't remember smoking anything. I might have smoked something. Work was pretty stressful. Were there mushrooms in my stew? There were mushrooms in my stew. Were they the right mushrooms? What did Mira put in there this time? Harold jumped on Sulesser's head, grabbed it with both his wings, and then hit the deputy's forehead with his own tiny chicken head multiple times. "Why won't you get this through your head? Your king is your sheriff. The witches have found him, and he's about to be dead." He hit his head one more time. "We are here to help you. Get that through your head." Sulesser threw Harold off his face and stood up. "Gobble, gobble, gobble," Harold's chicken said as it was nervously breaking its fall to the ground. "Can you all talk?" Sulesser asked. "Yes, we can," Jacob said gruffly. "Yeah," Job said matter-of-factly. "Yes," Dunn said kindly. "We just don't really need to right now," Lipple said sweetly. "Okay," Sulesser said. "I think I'm gonna need to vomit again." He went inside to grab a bucket. "Ow! Ow! Ow! Stop poking me!" Harold said as he bit himself. Sulesser retched. He retched again. "Your chicken's getting a little feisty," Dunn said. "Nothing's coming out!" Sulesser shouted. Harold whipped his head around, cracked his neck twice, and then looked straight forward. "That should do it," he said. He walked into the house, looked up at Sulesser, and said, "Stop vomiting. It won't make sense. It's not a hallucination. There's no time. Your king is in danger. Go up and grab your silver sword. You need to save Adarian." Sulesser kicked Harold with his right leg and sent him flying into a cabinet. "We have no king. He's... Wait, what? You know about my silver sword?" Harold seemed to stretch himself as he looked Sulesser in the eye. "Yeah, and?" Sulesser stared at him. "Who are you?" he asked. "I told you, we're diplomats from Thyturo." Mira, Sulesser's wife, walked down the stairs. She had her blankets around her. "Why aren't you back in bed yet?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. She saw the 4 chickens standing at the door. "Chickens?" she asked. "Why are they standing at the door looking at me? So still, so calm." "We can talk, Dunn said. Mira screamed, "Jump," and fell backwards onto the ground. "Don't scare a woman like that," Harold scolded. Mira turned her head to look. "There's another one," she said. "They said there were some sort of prophets from Vituro," Sulesser said. "Diplomats," Harold corrected. "We are diplomats." "They said they're diplomats," Harold said. Mira looked at her husband, crying. "Diplomats? No, these are a bunch of chickens that are talking. They're a bunch of blue elves. Blue elves, Sulesser. Of all the places that the blue elves could have come, they had to come here, to our house. We're dead. Sulesser, dead." "You're not dead," Harold said. "If we were blue elves from Natura, we would have killed you already. But really, quickly, there is no time to explain. Sulesser, get your silver sword, we have to fight." Suddenly, a black skeletal cubish beast jumped into the doorway. "Freaking lots," the beast said. "I guess you don't have your sword yet." "Prescient kick!" Harold shouted as he hit the strange beast in the face. Half of the face shattered and fell on the ground. The beast turned to face the chicken. "I'm sorry you got the bad lot, good sir, but now it is time to die." The beast looked away and saw Sulesser and Mira, undefended, on the floor. He smiled with half a face and ran for them. "Run!" Harold shouted. "Get your silver sword! Men, fight this man!" He jumped again, making himself into a bullet, and he continued to break the bones of the strange beast. One of his claws cut Mira as she was getting up. "No," Harold said, but Sulesser carried Mira back up the stairs and brought her into his room. As Harold continued to fight the bony beast, he noticed his men weren't helping. "What are you doing, men? Why aren't you helping me?" "We're kind of busy," Jacob shouted back. Harold looked over the shoulder that he had just destroyed, and saw that his men were fighting 6 other witches outside. Harold hit the beast once more through the body. The beast stopped fighting and stood still for a moment. "I don't want to die," he said matter-of-factly. "I think that is a good decision," Harold replied. The skeletal beast nodded, stepped out of the house, and then jumped back into the treetops. His body restructured itself as he jumped away. There was a loud crash upstairs. Harold could hear the fighting. He worried, but when he looked out, he saw Job destroying the head of a witch that happened to look like a beetle. The witch fell on the ground, completely still, its brain oozing out. "It kept its brain in its head? What kind of rookie mistake is that?" Harold shouted. The other witches, when they noticed that their friend was actually dead, all became extremely distressed and were prepared to want to run away. Then another strange body fell between Harold and the battle outside. Then Sulesser fell upon it with his silver sword in his left hand. He was holding Mira with his right arm. The ground formed a crater around him. The other witches fled. Sulesser pinned down the strange body that still had a human face. "How long have you been alive, witch?" Sulesser asked. "I'm not going to die to a burning prick like you," the witch replied, mouth foaming. "I said, how long have you been alive?" The witch stared at him with daggers in his eyes. "Almost 400 triads by now." "Why would you want to know?" "That's about 1,400 years by my count, isn't it, witch? Do you want that all to end now?" The witch shot up off the ground and bit Sulesser's face, but the hilt of the sword still went through him. "That bite is septic. You should die no matter what now." Sulesser put Mira on the ground and rolled her on her back, and then pushed the witch on to the ground. He wiped his face off. "That is not what I asked you," he said. "You can try and bite me, no matter what. That isn't the point here. Do you want to die today?" "Do you really think you can kill me?" the witch asked. "Yes," Sulesser said. The witch sucked his lips. Sulesser's face was puffing up. "What do you offer?" he said. "Heal my wife, heal me, and then leave here and go your way. Otherwise, we will kill you." The witch seemed to consider it. He was nodding his head and began to reach out. Then Lipple, Harold, and the other chicken stepped in. "We are healers. There's no need for you to make deals with witches." The witch looked at the 5 chickens in absolute shock. Its heart, which was roughly where its kidney was supposed to be, started beating faster and faster. "You can kill this one," Harold said. "Heal my wife first." Sue Lesser shouted at the chicken at Harold. The swelling of his face was beginning to cover his eyes. Do it, Harold said to Jacob. Jacob went over to Sue Lesser's wife, while Harold jumped on Sue Lesser's face and began to heal him. The other chickens got on top of the witch and began pressing their feet into his chest. 4 inches, Slipple shouted. 1,000 spike, 4 inches, heart is in the kidney, brain between the proper of the left lung and heart. Long lungs, 2 layers under skin, stomach and the head. The witch tried to reach out and fight. Stingers full of poison rose up from his body and tried to strike at each of his foes, but none of them achieved anything. Slowly but surely, as the ground boiled under him, the witch began to die. He was a strong one, truly blessed by his mistress, his elder, but after 1,400 years, he died that night. Sue Lesser stood up, panting. He wasn't tired, he was completely refreshed. Harold's healing had worked very well on him, but he was still fairly hot. You said that witches would be attacking Adarian tonight? Sue Lesser asked. Yes, Harold replied, they will be. Where is Adarian? Sue Lesser asked. He's in the sheriff's house, of course. He is your sheriff, after all. The one you know as Elev Tenanumadon is truly Elev Adarian Dragonflower, the last heir of the promise. Come on, you knew this already. You learned about it this morning. We need to go and save him, Sue Lesser said. Indeed, Harold replied. Sue Lesser turned to his wife. Mira, stay here. It would be best if you didn't come with us. It will be dangerous. No, Harold said. It is best if she comes with us. We don't want a witch taking her as a hostage. Oh, right, Sue Lesser said. They're going to take people hostage. The whole town. They're going to take them hostage. Nonsense, Harold said. Jacob, Job, you two take care of the rest of the town. Sue Lesser, I, and the others will go to save Adarian. They're not going to waste many of their spies on hostages. But they will take them, Sue Lesser said. They will, Harold replied, but we'll deal with that in the morning. It is time for us to kill the witches in the night. And that is where the story goes up to at this point.
All right. So we had some fun with this last time we tried to do the broadcast, and I ended up having mass recording failure. I do have backups going this time, so we don't have any issues. But yeah, my whole thing, the witch thing is still a little confusing because it's like regular vernacular of what a witch is versus what you're doing with it. They
also do the things regular witches do.
Yes.
As the co-author, I have presented ideas to him on how we could change that. But from my understanding, these are like a very particular kind of creature, which, in my opinion, deserve their own name. But
right. So in that regard, that's my thought on that. The chicken stuff is hilarious. Your sort of improv to bring us up to speed is generally good, but it definitely had some filler words, and it was clear that you were improvising, and it was clear when you changed over. Just as a suggestion, one guy to listen to that's really good at improvisational storytelling of this type and level is a guy named Jim Weiss. If you've never heard Jim Weiss, you should look him up. Spelled just how you would think. He does recordings of fairy tales and things of that nature, and he's almost entirely improvised. He is edited later in his studio versions that you'll probably hear, but there are live tellings that he's done that are just fantastic. Dude's amazing. Yeah, so I guess we'll open it up for other thoughts. The chicken stuff is just hilarious, man. Every time I hear the chicken stuff, it's just so funny.
It totally bamboozled me, and I'm the co-author whenever he threw that in there. Here I am, it's like, this seems like we're getting kind of dark, and I just said, this is very dark. And it's like, why not singing and talking and karate doing chickens? So, the anime call out, what was the...
Prescient kick!
Prescient kick?
Yes, that was inspired by Reagan from Mob Psycho, who calls out his moves.
Yep.
Okay. I love the idea that the chicken
we're a bunch of chickens and we're here to save you, or we're here to get you to save somebody. Yeah. It's like, it's just a ridiculous concept.
Just a house, a car of chickens just pulls up. Get in if you want to live.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So,
Yes.
Braden, you got stuff?
Yeah, I have a couple things that I would like to ask and say. Number one, the language thing, the foul language. How serious are you planning on going with that?
I don't know. I'm having the idea that some of the chapters will be written from Harold's perspective, and when it is, it will be obvious. Like, it's not that it's Harold's eyes, it's that literally Harold writes the text of the chapter.
Yeah.
So, and I do want any chapter that has, like, him involved to be comedic.
Mhm.
So it's not like that's something I want in every part of the story, and maybe the jokes, and just the idea that I have the specific words probably don't land on this chapter, but in general, I do want parts of the story to have a more comedic tint, and the language itself breaking the fourth wall and stuff, but that to be very much associated with this character.
So, I would just warn against. I don't think anything's wrong with hell, but I warn against saying certain things.
Even by not saying them is what you're saying. Like, leaving the space for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you are a Christian and you're representing Christianity in your writing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind the really dark nature. I just, I think that every dark part of a story should be capped off with something lighter.
Yeah.
More or less, yeah.
I definitely think that's coming, especially with the future and coming king aspect of the story. So we're just in the world's dark night of the soul, and it's yeah. So things
And
are
chickens
dark
are singing.
right now. Yeah, and chickens are singing. Chickens are hailing the coming of the king.
Brendan, do you have anything? Nope. Okay. Abigail and Ryder, you guys are here. Do you guys... wait. Oh, Brendan does have something.
Wait, what do you mean by do you have... Wait,
for,
do you mean...
For Daniel, or
have
for
something to share, or
for
have
Aaron and Daniel.
for Aaron?
For Aaron and Daniel.
For
yeah.
Aaron and Daniel. No, I have not. I have nothing to.
Okay.
No, I have no comments.
Abigail or Ryder, do you guys have anything?
I don't have anything to add. I missed the first part of it, so I'm not sure what's going on. Sorry if I'm making weird noises. Also, I'm cooking.
It's all good. It's all good. Great to have you here.
Yeah.
Yes. And
yep, go ahead.
Ryder was here for all of it, and he has had no context for the story before this point. So I'm especially wanting to know what he thinks.
If he has, yeah.
Yeah, so from what I was able to gather, it sounds like it kind of reminds me of something almost Arthurian, where you have this legend sort of this king who's going to come to set things right, and I think that's pretty awesome. The chicken thing was hilarious, and you definitely, when you had that anime call out, I was wondering about that because I was like, that sounds like anime. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But you were able to understand what was the general.
He's curious whether or not he kind of successfully filled you in to the story so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, I would agree with what Josh said, and that some of the improv could be improved, but I was able to keep up with what you were saying for the most part.
First time improving, so.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ready?
All right. Brendan, did you decide to share or no? Yes. Okay. Do you want to go next, or do you need some time?
Me?
I mean,
No, Brendan.
I can. I mean, I don't need time because what all it's going to be is incredibly off the cuff anyway. So let me just,
because you're sharing the map, right? If I remember correctly.
Well, that's the question. I'm probably going to share the map, but excuse me. I feel like I should actually just give a little bit of context. So this past month, I've been doing a lot of stuff, mostly for TTRPG style things, tabletop role playing games. For those of you who don't speak acronyms, I was making something that I was hoping could be like a third party campaign that was meant to be played with Pathfinder. But then and I did a lot of work on that, on building the world, because as you all know, I like world building. That's sort of my shtick. But then sort of like partway through the month, like close to the the beginning of this last week, I realized that there would be that would basically be entirely for me, and for like the next game that I run, because I'm using Pathfinder First Edition, and they're on currently Pathfinder Second Edition. So I'm not sure if Paizo, the company, would want to partner with someone to sell something for an old edition of their game. Now, that could play in my advantage, because I could just say, hey, I'm publishing this, you're not updating it, let me do this, but I doubt they're going to let that fly. Publishers can be very protective of IP. Now, there is third-party content out there already, so there's obviously some way, but I don't know. I'm not worrying. I'm not sure that fight is worth it. So I did work on a map for that world, but I also then got interested in the other game project that I had, which was a from the ground up, not entirely new system. I'm stealing from other systems, but I basically took a meme and I made it real. So I see Daniel's getting excited about the meme. So the question is, do you want to hear what I got about the meme, or do you want to hear about the world building I did for the for my personal game?
My pick would be probably the meme stuff. Generally
meme
speaking.
Stuff. Yes.
What do you guys think? We got 2 for meme, 3 for meme.
The meme, yeah, that sounds fun.
All right, we got 4, so that's the majority. All right, Ryder goes majority for the meme.
The majority has spoken. We are doing the meme. So the meme in question was a Tumblr post originally about how somebody wanted to have an RPG where the attributes or stats were gumption, chutzpah, moxie, childlike wonder, the cut of my jib, and a certain je ne sais quoi. So I made that. The stats in question are gumption, chutzpah, moxie, wonder, jib. I included savvy and je ne sais quoi. I am basing this off of Shadowrun, which, not to bog you down in the mechanics, basically you roll a bunch of d6, you count the 5s and 6s, and that's how many successes you get. Cool, yay. Whoop-de-doo. I have as follows. These are the descriptions that I have for each of them. Because what I did was I got the list of skills, and then I basically divided them up amongst how I sort of envisioned these. And so I guess the question that I'm going into this with is, do these make sense, or do you think I should switch them around? So gumption. This is the description I have for gumption. Gumption measures your character's practiced skills, physical prowess, and sheer nerve when facing challenges head on. The stat combines training expertise with raw courage, whether you're scaling a wall, performing a daring acrobatic maneuver, or standing your ground against overwhelming odds. A high gumption score reflects both your physical capabilities and the determination to use when it counts. So that's gumption. That's going to be things like archery, combat, gymnastics, things like that, right? These are sort of some of the physical skills. The next we have chutzpah. Chutzpah represents your character's audacity, quick thinking, and decisive action in the face of uncertainty. The stat measures not just how fast you react, but your ability to seize opportunities with bold confidence. A high chutzpah score means you excel at making split-second decisions and acting without hesitation when others might freeze up. So in the skill department, this is things like driving a cart, riding a horse, riding a bird. I have, because I imagine this is going to be in a whimsical sort of fantasy RPG where you're not going to be necessarily playing a human. I actually also have a comment on races, but I will get to that in a minute. Survival, things like that. So that's sort of, in my opinion, chutzpah. Moxie. Moxie represents your character's raw toughness, stamina, and sheer tenacity to keep going when others would fall. The stat measures not just your physical resilience and ability to withstand damage, but also your deep-seated resolve to push through the exhaustion and pain. A high Moxie score means you can take a beating and stay standing, endure harsh conditions, and maintain your drive even when your body screams to quit. So that is like your hit points, but it's also how do you absorb damage in the game, and I'm also including like strength stats. So I was thinking I could include like martial arts under gumption, but I would include brawling under moxie, because I imagine like when you're brawling, you're just slugging and you're not necessarily thinking about technique, you're just wailing on the guy, right? So that strength-based characters could do something. Savvy. Savvy represents your character's sharp wit, keen awareness, and intellectual curiosity. The stat measures your ability to piece together clues, recall crucial information, and notice what others miss. It combines book smarts with street smarts, mixing scholarly knowledge with intuitive understanding. A high savvy score means you're quick to unravel puzzles, spot hidden dangers, and grasp the deeper meaning behind events. This is intelligence and perception. It's your knowledge stat. Work with me here. Jib. Jib represents your character's social grace, magnetic personality, and knack for steering conversations your way. The stat measures not just your charm and presence, but your ability to read a room and navigate social waters with flair. A high Jib score means you can win hearts, influence minds, and shape the mood of any gathering, whether you're haggling with merchants, rallying allies, or smooth-talking your way past guards. This is your charisma stat. It's just the cut of my jib. It's how fancy you dress and or how good you can talk. Okay, now we get to the interesting ones. Wonder. Wonder represents your character's connection to the mysterious and marvelous forces that dance just beyond ordinary sight. The stat measures your ability to feel the pulse of magic, to understand its wild heart, and to weave its essence through pure intuition. A high wonder score means you don't just cast spells, you embrace the raw poetry of magic itself, channeling an unpredictable nature through your own emotional resonance with the extraordinary. This is the magic stat. It's what you cast spells with. It's what you sense magic with. It's the wizard's main thing. Not that there are wizards. There are no classes in this system. But I sort of imagine wonder being like childlike wonder, like the fact that like you can see like the things because you haven't become jaded, right? That's sort of my thought behind it. But again, this is also going to be a bunch of fairies and satyrs and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun and that sort of deal. And then the last is je ne sais quoi. Je ne sais quoi represents your character's inexplicable ability to attract the extraordinary, that mysterious quality that makes coincidence cluster around you like moths to a flame. The stat measures not luck exactly, but rather your knack at being in exactly the right or spectacularly wrong place at precisely the perfect moment. A high je ne sais quoi score means the universe itself seems to take a special interest in your story, causing unlikely events to unfold in your favor, or occasionally spiraling into delightfully chaotic misadventures. This is the luck stat, for lack of a better word. You can use, basically, you get a number of extra dice equal to your je ne sais quoi that you can spend to do things, but I'm also stealing from the fate system the aspects, so the DM can force certain things to happen to you in exchange for je ne sais quoi dice. So they're like a combination of fate points and additional dice that you can use on skills and or do other things. That's the stats. I don't know if so. The main question is, do you think all of those make sense given the definition of words? Like gumption and chutzpah are basically synonyms. So I kind of had to flip a coin almost on that. But I think gumption sort of makes more sense, whereas for like the I'm brave, I've trained to do this. Whereas chutzpah to me is more like you're standing up to someone like in like on a spring moment, right? Like you haven't necessarily trained for it, you're just doing it anyway.
Yeah, chutzpah definitely seems like recklessness, and gumption like confidence.
That's a good way to put it. I think gumption is gumption means that you have the discipline to go and do something. Chutzpah means you have the audacity to go and do something, basically.
Yeah, but that was sort of my thought too, though not as many words, because words are sort of not exactly my strong suit, but they can be at occasion.
As soon as you need play testers, let me know.
Right.
Let me know.
Okay. I already have another person who is like that, so I will probably do a playtest run with online with some people because I need a wide sample.
And if you need someone to playtest GMing, let me know.
Have you run Shadowrun before?
I've not run Shadowrun, but I run Pathfinder and D&D.
Right, yeah, I can probably get you some just basic enemy stats and or other things. I was planning on doing a playtest where I was basically going to just steal things from like old PlayStation 1 PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games like Spyro and Sly Cooper and other things like that, because those are so like whimsically silly that I'm like, yes, this is exactly the feel I want for the game.
No. You're not stealing them. You're strategically transferring to an alternate location.
There you go. There, strategically transferring them to alternate location. For races, I have dwarves, elves, fairies, animal folk, satyrs, and Groot.
There you go.
And you're what?
Groot. Groot. Like I am Groot. Only you can say more than just I am Groot, probably.
My dog enters the chat.
So,
Woof, woof.
yeah, thoughts for Brendan and Abigail. I know it takes you a minute to say stuff because you're usually cooking or whatever, but are you sharing tonight? Answer when you're ready. Brendan, stuff for Brendan. What do you guys think?
I would love to share if I can. Sorry.
Okay, awesome.
For Brendan,
sounds great.
I do think kind of my jib has to have something to do with like your national allegiance also. So if you can include that, that would be interesting. She's talking to.
Okay.
Wonder was the magical stat, right?
Sorry, what?
Wonder was the magic stat block, correct?
Basically, it's the magic stat.
Okay.
That's a gross simplification, but yes.
I've been waiting for somebody to piece that together, so I'm very excited for this.
Are you going to be running this where you have things like, obviously not, or maybe not these exact words, but tieflings or Aarakocra?
No. That wasn't my plan.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm interested in that, and I'm also interested in the other thing that we're working on. We're working on trying to adapt the e-fetting system that I've talked about before, which is a creative writing thing used for professional wrestling usually. A creative writing roleplay thing, and trying to adapt it to other genres, particularly fantasy, for anyone who wants to play. But it is a creative writing based role-playing game, which is a little weird and different. All right. So next on the list we have I have Joel, I have myself, I have Abigail, and I think that's all that are currently sharing. Should we go ahead
Did
and
you?
do? Oh, Daniel.
Me?
Yes, Daniel. Sorry, my bad. Daniel.
Yeah.
Do you want to go next, or should I do Joel?
I can go ahead. I don't have a whole lot. I just have a story idea I have been sitting on, trying to figure out where to take it. I've been treating it like just a little fun on my break, sometimes not on my break. Just lit RPG for myself. Um, but the gist of it is I loved those like cop shows growing up, and I fell in love with the like the Dresden Files book series. And I've been wanting to kind of sink my teeth into something a bit more episodic and with a little less commitment to Aaron and I's fantasy series. So what I've come up with is centered around this core group, which is like a vigilante group. So more of like grounded superheroes, a group of more grounded superheroes who are one part vigilante and one part like private investigator. So I kind of toe that line. It's called the Midnight Accord. So they would start off with our main character. I have a timeline. The general premise is that the main character, Alex Carter, was a soldier. He was the sole survivor of a mysterious incident that wipes out his entire squad, and circumstances are covered up, pushing him to seek the truth. Through his kind of return to civilian life, he meets Elena, who's she is a private investigator who's taken a step back. They cross paths, kind of inspire each other to go and right the wrongs in their city. And I'm thinking about basing it potentially in Kansas City. But the gist of it is I wanted to be able to write a longer or basically a monster of the week type thing in a book where I'm every book I would be able to focus on the same tight knit group of characters going on adventures, solving mysteries, be it more grounded threats or more kind of toe the line into the supernatural. But yeah, it needs work, and I sit on my ideas, and it's hard for me to communicate them. But the gist of the backstory is Alex Carter is a soldier, sole survivor, mysterious incident that wipes out his entire squad, and he then develops the ability whenever he is near a death that person's memories, personalities, and skill sets imprint on him. And so he is able to use that to aid him in solving mysteries. And it's not really, in my mind, I didn't think of it so much as necromancy. I have gotten some pushback from Christian friends. It's like, it's a little on the iffy side. But it's not that he is actively talking to dead people. It's more definitely wanted to emphasize more the cerebral side of that, where their memory, their skill set, and personality have imprinted on him. Any ideas are welcome.
So about that, how does Alex Carter is what I heard? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just how does he feel about all of this? Because that's really going to be your moral compass for weird things happening to him. It doesn't matter if dark, weird things are happening to him or he has dark, weird powers, except for how he actually uses them and feels about them and investigates them. Like, if you're just saying this stuff happens and it's like, good and natural and he doesn't have any weird feelings about it, yeah, that's a problem. But those are assumptions that people are making based on
Right.
your concept, which to me, like, I would be pretty freaked out if something like that was happening to me. So I immediately think, like,
Yeah.
you know, this is something dark
No, so
yeah, go ahead.
the way I envision it, it starts out where it doesn't happen right away. So it's not right after the incident. It's about a couple of years after he returns into civilian life. He starts to get these glimpses and paranormal instances happening around his apartment. And it starts to just get to a point where he starts to see a priest, a shrink. He starts seeing different people. He's kind of wigging out. He's losing sleep. He thinks it's just like PTSD. He's trying to reason with himself of like, okay, there's no way this is a supernatural thing. Absolutely, just my mind has been broken by the things I have seen. And so it just has to be just a natural explanation. But the more he digs into it, there's just no way that there isn't something supernatural going on.
It feels like a noir version of a show that used to be on Christian television years ago, back when that was even a thing, called Early Edition. Have you ever heard of Early Edition?
Okay. I can't say I have.
Early Edition was a show about a guy who regularly got a newspaper that told him what was going to happen tomorrow. It was tomorrow's newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like...
That's definitely the vibe.
Yeah, had no clue where it came from, you know, but like that's part of what the deal was, and so he would try to save people or do this or do that or whatever. And so that's kind of the vibe I'm feeling from this.
Yeah, so mainly the main difference there was like rather than getting information about what's gonna happen in the future,
right?
It's here's this new set of abilities and skills,
right?
And recent memories. So like the proximity he has to the death kind of determines how long the imprint lasts.
Right.
So like he knew the members of his squad for years and they've all died. So that's going to leave a huge imprint. That's permanent. But like random Joe number 6 down the street whose brother
he has that
murders
power for
him
an episode.
for like stealing. Yeah, he has those powers for that episode.
Right.
And it's gonna go up and down. So I want it to have kind of a slow burn into the more wild stuff. But I really wanted it to almost have like a cop drama show, like Law and Order.
Yeah.
That
procedural.
Like a procedural drama that could step into the supernatural. Like it's not bound by just normal limits, because that's not the world we live in. And I don't want people to think that's the world we live in. Like we actually live in a world where
miracles happen.
The miracle happens, and that druggie might also have a demon.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so there's just some really fascinating ideas, and I keep finding like, ooh, this could be a really exciting villain for this storyline. And this
get a first story. Get a first story. Write down a couple other ideas, but get a first story and nail that out. And you'll be good.
That's where I'm stuck. Like I know it needs to start with him and Elena. Like I have an idea for like a primary side character, and their stories intersect. She's a private investigator. She uncovers something that leads her to him. Yeah. And then she has to inspire and encourage him to help her in whatever it is she's doing. And so I think that would be an effective way to start it off, where she has got a mystery that somehow connects to him. And if it connects to him, it's a bunch of things the whole can of worms he doesn't want to open.
Yep.
because he's not ready to
That sounds
explore
great.
him. Like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
good,
I think you're on the right track. Other thoughts from folks?
awesome.
Sorry, I'm trying to follow, but are you saying that, you know my story, Into the Stars, that I'm working on?
Kind of, maybe.
Where they get sucked into the portal?
Mm,
I do, but it's a Portal fantasy thing he's working on. Anyway.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So they are walking side by side to the real world.
Yeah.
Is that similar to what's going on here, or is it?
I wasn't really thinking portal fantasy. It was more our world is supernatural. There are those
Unexplainable
realities.
things. X-Files.
Yeah, there are things that truly do go bump in the night, and sometimes it's just Jerry down the street, but maybe there is actually stuff that is actually happening in a spooky, almost like, if you've ever watched Unbreakable.
I've not.
Bruce Willis, it's that kind of vibe. It's an M. Night Shyamalan film where he is.
Signs, for that matter. It's similar to Signs. Like, there's weird stuff that
Yeah.
happens, yeah.
Yeah, it's our world. It is our world, but with a magnifying glass on the
Weird.
stranger corners.
Yeah.
On the weird.
Other thoughts? I think
I
you're
think
going
the
in a
concept
good
is
direction, yeah. Go ahead, Ryder.
It sounds like
it's a really interesting
premise.
concept.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think it would make a good TV show if you wanted to go that direction, or
I wanted
a
to-
serialized thing, because online, yeah, a serialized story, because those are all the rage right now. So might as well go.
Yeah. I'm thinking a long series of books where each book is like 350 to 450 pages each, and it just like develops into the next. There's can be overarching arcs. There can be little things that happen in the middle, like little side jobs that are happening all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ryder, did you have more?
Yeah, I have a question about the ability that the main character has. Because I think
Okay.
it's, as soon as you were talking about it, I thought, wow, that's really cool. Are there any drawbacks to when he gets the power? Is there a drawback?
Yeah, I mean, the ability itself is kind of traumatizing because it's so dramatically tied to deaths that happen. So, I mean, the ability itself is kind of a drawback in and of itself. But aside from that, I would love any like ideas and recommendations. But like, I'm honestly like, I think of it. It's poor Orange, it's dead. Like the ability itself kind of sucks in a lot of ways. And I was really thinking about just playing that up. You have any ideas, Ryder?
Is it kind of like an uncontrollable ability where it's like if something happens, it imprints on him no matter what he wants?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that working out.
He lives in a metropolitan area, so he's getting stuff all the time. Like people are dying around him. He hates walking near hospitals. It's just overwhelming. But like whenever he's never low on leads. It's like, oh well, there's a weird death that shouldn't have happened that way.
And he feels a certain sense of responsibility because to keep going, just because like he knows he's gonna be good at it because he never is without leads, like you said.
Right.
Yeah. So no matter how abstract they might be, because I would expect that some people, who die give him more information than others. And
Yeah.
there's probably some rhyme and reason to why, but
Yeah. My ideas that I've had for like the main cast of supporting characters, you have Alex up top, and then you have Lena, who's the main like investigator type. So I wanted to still have like a femme fatale, but really put less emphasis on like her combat skills or whatever. He is the brains, he is the brawn. And it's simply just, like whenever they work together, he's the scary soldier guy, and then she's the lady with the brains and the ability to get herself into situations that he can't.
Alex is here. Ryder, the one that was talking to you, invited you to the broadcast. They're in the red. Alex and Debbie, they're saying hi.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
So, sorry, I'm going to try to speed run the main like supporting cast because I love the idea of like the dynamics I have for him. I have the leader, Alex, the heart slash smart guy, I guess, Lena, and then I have Theo who comes in and he's like the tech specialist. He's like 18 at the time whenever he first comes in. The newbie, he's not a combat guy. He's the guy in the headset in the van, and the other two are kind of running the show. He's just support, don't shoot the messenger, that kind of guy. Then you get Max who comes in, who's just extra muscle, but he's kind of got this Batman quality to him where, he is that skilled, but he will not kill at all if he can help it. But he's like a former like Black Ops specialist, and so he's got a lot of history doing that, and he can if he must, but it's just a thing. Like he's not going to kill. Then he's the big guy. You got the smart guy. You got the leader. You got the heart, and then you meet Liam, who's got a magical totem where whenever he can freeze time for as long as he can hold his breath. So, a weird little ability, but it works because he can just kind of go around the room. I liked it. It was such a weird, like, unique ability. It's like he's swimming so fast. I'd never even thought of that.
Yeah, make sure you develop these further and how their stories intersect, especially because I was really excited with just the two characters. And I don't think that the other characters should detract from how great those first two characters are. And you want to make sure that they all intersect really well. So that's really great.
Yeah.
We need to get moving along on this, I think. And so we can come back to that soon. And any help you want to have with that, just let us know. Okay, so Alex and Debbie, are either of you guys sharing tonight?
No, I do not believe that we are.
Okay, just checking. So that leaves myself, Joel, and Abigail. Abigail, do you want to go next or no?
Somebody else should go next. I think I'm ready to serve dinner.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will go ahead and read Joel next. Joel is a friend of ours who sometimes shows up to the broadcast, sometimes he's unable to, and when he is unable to, he sends in bits and pieces of his novel, his story, which is sort of a Roland Emmerich style.
For a little while.
What's going on?
I was wondering about that.
Abigail did. Yeah. Got it. Okay, let me see here.
Hey, Abigail, you're not muted.
I know.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Any which way. The next thing, so he has a sort of Roland Emmerich story about aliens who come and are turning people into zombies, and then a separate alien race that comes to Earth and is trying to help the humans counteract them. That's the basic gist of the story, and I'm going to read what he has here. So, as catch-up, it says, when we last saw Fox and Zoe, they had a swarm of rats run past them in the subway. They just saw some lights on and Zoe started running forward. A big deal since she sliced her leg open. They had lost connection with their HQ. Note from me, it says, I tried to give Antonio a thick New York accent. Okay, sounds good. All right, 27 survivors. They ran for a few minutes before Fox stopped. There was a lot of light ahead, and it had to be the station. He held his finger to his lips and pointed at the floor. There was a string stretched across, ending in a cluster of cans. It's an alarm, he whispered through the speakers in his helmet. He crept forward, keeping to the darkest shadows on the wall. She followed, doing her best, as quiet as possible. They could hear voices ahead. Someone was having an argument. Fox opened his wings, this time jet black, blending perfectly into the darkness. Fox has a suit. You heard about the helmet. It's an advanced weaponry suit. It has wings. He covered her as they snuck forward. Suddenly, a loading bar appeared in her visor and quickly filled her HUD with information. Zoe, I am here. You made it. We have connection again. The soothing sound of Starlet's voice came crystal clear into her helmet. Are you well? It's so good to hear your voice again, Zoe whispered, relieved to have her back again. We have a helicopter that will be making its way to the building above the subway entrance. An arrow appeared in her HUD. It followed a path up the stairs to the building that was traced in an outline over her view. It went up the fire escape to the roof, and an icon resembling a helicopter appeared. It was so simple, all she had to do was follow the arrow. It looks like there are people in the station, Zoe whispered. Do not be worried. Fox will take care of it, Starlet reassured her. Fox took something out of his packs and put it on the wall. It scurried off like a small spider. In her visor, a little window opened, showing a video from the probe. It ran up and along the ceiling to the station. The platform was full of about 30 people ranging from all walks of life, from businessmen to schoolgirls. The most prominent group looked to be a local gang that had taken ownership. Matching bandanas, mostly pulled over the mouth and nose, identified them. They seemed to have separated the people into different groups, and several of the gang members were armed, patrolling up and down the stairs and between the groups. 3 of them were arguing around a middle-aged man in a suit, who was cowering on the floor. His right sleeve was soaked in blood. On the far side of the tracks, 10 or so dead bodies had been piled against the wall. Let me do the talking, Fox said, turning to Zoe. He picked up a rock and threw it back the way they had come. It hit the cans and sent them rolling and rattling a few feet down the tunnel. Instantly, the gang members were on high alert. Fox watched as they assumed their defensive positions. Shouts came from the platform. Some of the gang members started running up the stairs. Others aimed their pistols down the tunnel towards him. Who is your leader? Fox called in a loud voice that echoed in the tunnel. Several men who had been arguing came forward to the edge of the platform. Who's asking? One called out. The video zoomed in on their faces. A stream of data appeared and scrolled inside the visor. It was too fast for Zoe to read. It ended with a list of mugshots and a police record. One of them also showed a much younger man in a military uniform posed in front of the U.S. flag. Under it, it read Rodriguez, Antonio USMC, E5, Purple Heart, dishonorable discharge, and a date. The data vanished abruptly, leaving their names floating in the HUD above their heads. My name is Fox. I'm with Loom Corps. I'm here to evacuate survivors. Show yourself, the leader called out. The HUD ran through several police reports and labeled him as Big Mike. Letting his wings dissolve into darkness, Fox walked into the light. Zoe followed, trying to stay behind him as much as possible. The gang members surrounded them, pointed their pistols at Fox, who remained calm. Who the heck are you? Rodriguez asked. I am your ticket out of here, Fox said. At this, most of the group seemed to perk up and relax, lowering their guns, but the leader wasn't satisfied. Oh yeah? How so? Unless you got a subway car and one of them packs, I think you are in the same boat as us. No, not a train. How about a helicopter? Several of their eyes widened at Fox's words. Again, their Big Mike scowled. You ain't flying one of those down in the tunnels. You ain't getting up through the gates. There's got to be 100 of them trying to break in right now. He poked Fox's chest. You ain't going nowhere and you ain't saving no one. Now give us your guns and we'll let you stay in our little safe zone. That's not happening, Fox answered. One of the thugs behind him jabbed him in the back of the neck with their pistol. You better listen. You better listen or you'll be just another body to clean up. The one called Antonio pulled Big Mike to the side and whispered, Boss, we should trust him. He may be our only chance to get out. What if he's a cop trying to trap us? He ain't no cop, he's a merc. And even if he was, they got bigger problems right now than trying to catch some small-time gangbangers holed up in a locked subway. Do not worry, Zoe, the starlet said through the helmet. We have a plan. Hey, you're a sweet thing, one man said, grabbing Zoe's elbow. Why don't you take off that helmet and let me have a look at you? Hey, what happened to your leg? Were you bit? He jerked his hand back and brought up his pistol to point at her face. He jerked his hand back and brought his... Oh, okay, I read that part. Fox reacted so fast that the man pointed his empty hand at her before he realized his weapon was missing. She just cut it on some glass. Don't get jumpy, Fox said, holding the pistol up. This can still work out for all of us. Think about it. I have a way out. The others raised their guns again, stepping back to keep out of his reach. Big Mike stepped forward, puffing at his chest and sizing up Fox. Give the gun back. Fox held his hand out, and the man snatched it back. He immediately pointed it back at Fox. It doesn't have to end like this, Fox tried, holding his hands up. You saved some people and kept them safe. That's great. This story can be in the papers tomorrow about how you saved all these lives. Just let me get them out. Forget you, I ain't no fool. Even if you do get us out, your guys will turn us all over to the cops as soon as your helicopter lands. We can hold out here just fine. He brought his gun up to aim between Fox's eyes. Zoe, I need you to duck when I count to 3. It was Fox's voice in her ear as the gangster continued. 1, 2. You don't need to worry about your friend. We'll take good clank. The cans rattled down the tracks, then again. Then they started and didn't stop. Everyone turned to look into the darkness, pointed their guns at the nothingness. What is it? I don't see anything. Inside the helmet, Zoe's HUD was lit up by dozens of red dots along the floor. Her image magnified to show a herd of cats racing forward. Zoe, you need to get up. Get on the platform or climb onto the bodies, but get up. It's just some feral cats, Big Mike said. They're corrupted. Everyone, Fox warned. Get everyone up. The pistol wavered in Big Mike's hand as his eyes flickered back and forth between Fox and the tunnel. We don't take orders from... Big Mike was pushed aside as his men scrambled back up to the platform. He tripped over the rail and fell. His fingers squeezed the trigger as the butt landed hard on the floor. The bullet ricocheted off the walls and whizzed down the far tunnel. Fox and Zoe ran with the group to the ledge. Zoe started climbing to relative safety. Infected or not, I ain't about to let those things scratch me up, Antonio yelled, offering a hand to Zoe. Fox spun around and sprinted back for the gang leader. Big Mike raised his gun, aiming at Fox again. Don't try nothing. Fox hesitated, hand halfway to his rifle. The first of the cats jumped on Big Mike's shoe and bit his ankle. The gangster screamed and kicked it off, but a second had already run up his pant leg. Firing wildly into the throng, he scrambled backwards on the ground, hopelessly trying to get away from the cats that swarmed over him. Sprinting forward, Fox fired his rifle, sending a string of lead that kept more corrupted felines from crawling over the prone man. He flared his wing, bright orange, and swept it over Big Mike's body. As the force field wing passed over them, the cats fell dead and rolled to the ground. Fox threw Big Mike over his shoulder and ran back to the platform. His rifle fell silent as the last round locked the bolt back. He dropped it, letting the bungee sling pull it back to his chest. He drew his pistol and continued. He leapt, his wings giving him an extra few feet to make it onto the platform. Dropping Big Mike, Fox dug a black ball out of his gear and threw it down the tunnel. It beeped loudly and flashed as it flew into the darkness. All of the cats turned and ran back towards the beeping. Zoe braced herself for an explosion, but none came. The beeping stopped, and the dots blinked out from her HUD. Fox knelt over Big Mike and ripped away the pants, revealing the bleeding, jagged flesh. "You're lucky they can't bite too deep," he said, spraying medical foam over his leg. "They were infected?" Big Mike gasped, his eyes wide. "Sure, if you want to call it that," Fox shrugged, treating more wounds. Big Mike closed his eyes and put the pistol barrel to his temple. He took a big swallow. Fox slapped the gun away. "Knock it off. You'll be fine." "But it isn't transmitted through bites," Fox explained. "What about him?" Antonio said, pointing at the man they had been arguing over. A large chunk of his leg was missing and blood was oozing through the makeshift bandage. Fox glanced up at the guy. "The worst he's going to get from that bite is gangrene, if he doesn't get it cleaned." Big Mike let out a deep breath as he lay his head down, grimacing against the pain. "You want a sedative?" Fox asked. "Sure." Fox pulled out a needle and injected it into his arm. "Tony, you're in charge," Big Mike said as he drifted off. Antonio stepped up and gave Fox a look over. You got another one of those ball things?" he asked. Fox nodded. "Will they work on the ones in the street?" "Sure will." This chopper, is it big enough for all of us? CH-47. A Chinook? You got that kind of connection? He looked over at Fox. His eyes narrowed. "Why should I believe you? Even if you have one of them coming, why would you give us a ride?" "Because my mission is to extract all survivors. That includes you," Fox replied. Rodriguez considered. "You seem to know what's going on. Care to clue me in?" "Sorry, classified." "Oh, well, that clears it all up. The freaking zombie apocalypse is going down, but it's okay. Everyone, it's classified. Doesn't that make you feel good?" "All right, clearance boy. Maybe a bird is coming for you. Maybe not. Maybe a bird is coming for you. Maybe not. And maybe it even has room for all of us. But how do I know I can trust you?" "Trust needs to run both ways, right, Sarge? I know who you are, Sergeant Antonio Rodriguez. Wounded in action in 2013, dishonorably discharged in 2015. Rodriguez's jaw dropped. "No one's called me that in years." Fox continued. "Your record is full of commendations, other than at the end. Do you still remember how to use one of these?" Fox unhooked his sling and handed his rifle to the astonished gang leader. He stood there staring, wondering if this was some trick. Slowly, he took it and checked the chamber. "You trust me? What about the pile of dead bodies there?" He gestured to the wall. "They were already dead," Fox said casually. "Oh, right. How can you tell that?" "If they had been fresh, there would have been a large pool of blood." Fox raised an eyebrow, waiting for the next question. "Wait, so now I just blindly trust you? Do you have a better solution?" Rodriguez glared at Fox for a long minute, trying to read his thoughts. He seemed to make up his mind and relaxed a little. "You're for real, aren't you?" Fox nodded. "I am being nothing but honest with you. I want all of your people to get out of here alive." Rodriguez considered for a minute. What about my guys? Are you going to have us locked up as soon as we land?" "Everyone is being taken to a quarantine ship that the Coast Guard has pulled into the harbor. All of you will be treated the same as everyone else." "Sure, but when they get released, we get locked up." "I can't promise anything, but you don't need to fear any repercussions for any of this." Fox gestured toward the bodies. "You did what you needed to save as many lives, to save as many as you could. I will say that you and your men saved all these people, making you sound like a hero." "They call me Tony," he said, smiling and holding out his hand. Fox shook it, and they went up on the platform. Zoe saw the spider drone drop onto his back and crawl into its pouch as Fox surveyed the weary-looking groups of people. All right, let's see the gate. I think that was Fox saying that. That was it. So thoughts for Joel. Joel's very good at giving thoughts on everyone else's stuff, just so everyone knows. So,
I have a very minor critique.
yep, go ahead.
The last round is not what holds open the. It's not what holds the bolt back. I would show you what I mean by that, but YouTube will take this
I
video
may have
down.
read that wrong, to be honest with you, because Joel actually works and has worked in gun stores for quite some time. So,
Okay.
yeah.
It's the magazine that holds the bolt back. So, very, very small thing, but
I'm sure he can clarify that with you, but yeah. Other thoughts?
I really enjoyed it. I like that the gang leader is taken aback that he's actually trying to help them and he's not going to try to do something bad to them, punish them later on, because he just cares about, getting as many people out alive as he can. I thought that was a really smart choice.
Very good. Other thoughts for Joel?
I like how natural the dialogue and the actions flowed. It had a very nice flow to it.
Yeah, Joel is very good at flow.
Joel is really good at that.
Yeah. He also has a very distinct voice for Fox specifically. I've been getting into it lately and enjoying that character as we've been going through his chapters. He has his book complete. He's working on figuring out publishing. He's been on the trying to send it out for publishing for a while. I don't know if he's still working on that or if he's planning on eventually getting to self-publishing or what. But I do really appreciate his book. It's a lot of fun. There's basically nanites that are from these aliens that are infecting people like zombies. So it's a fun sort of thing. And he does a good job describing gunfights and things adjacent to gunfights is a whole different game than describing like medieval fiction like a lot of us do. So
it is very difficult if you've never been there.
Right. Yep. So we have myself and Abigail left. I'm sure, Abigail, you're still eating/serving, more than likely. You don't have to respond if you are doing that. I'll just assume you'll be last, but if you do want to go next, it's up to you. I believe, just you and me are left. So let me go ahead and pull up what I have. Feel free to interrupt if you need to, Abigail. Otherwise, I will assume you'll be last. So,
by the way, hello, Ryder.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, actually.
Glad to be here and just be a part of this.
Cool. Well, we're glad to have you.
Let's see here. So, I have been working on a story that is very much outside my wheelhouse for a while. I'm going to be reading something from it. I normally do poetry. I do my serial epic poetry, but this story has really taken hold of me lately. I got it from doing some role-playing, solo role-playing and some other things, and it's in a time period and a place where I'm just not, like, I was not super ever thought of doing anything like this, but the story is very strong, and the amount of detail that I've gotten in a very short amount of time just from going through this, I'm very excited about it. I've shared a little bit of it with some of you, but I am going to read a document that is it's a combination world building document / test for my prose, because I am more of a poet than a prose writer. And I wanted to test this and see how it did. I'm trying to find it really quickly. There it is. And so I'm going to read this. This is about a place. And parts of this will probably end up in the novel. I'm doing an inline novel, a novel that has poetry inline, similar to like Lord of the Rings or that sort of a thing, but it actually takes place in 1820s in Britain. And it is not fantastical in any, well, I mean, it has some fantasy magic, well, some spiritualism in it. But like, it is a more of a historical thriller in the vein of, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Jane Austen, and it has some other stuff like Count of Monte Cristo vibes. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read this. This is a expositional document where I'm working on the prose about a place. Okay, so there's not a lot of dialogue. There is some, but here we go. In the year of our Lord 1820, that actually changes, it's more like 1825, but the Montgomery estate stood as a masterpiece of careful contradictions. Its mistress, the formidable Lady Agnes Montgomery, presided over her domain with a volition that was once described as an iron will wrapped in the finest silk gloves money could buy. She was, as the Archbishop of Canterbury once remarked to his wife, a woman who could organize heaven's hierarchy more efficiently than the angels themselves, though perhaps with more attention to the bottom line. The house itself harbored its secrets as carefully as its mistress harbored her protégés. Behind the immaculate Georgian facade, which held Tudor-era bones beneath, and where everything was exactly as it should be, and better polished than most, lived a fascinating collection of what Lady Montgomery called her gifts from God's humanity garden, though never within their hearing, of course. The family wing of the main house accommodated a selection of distant female cousins, all of whom had arrived under various circumstances of genteel distress and now managed different aspects of the estate's many enterprises with remarkable acumen. The business offices staffed primarily by women whose carefully cultivated accents betrayed not a single hint of their humble origins, handled correspondence and accounts with an efficiency that made hardened merchants blink in surprise. More than one visitor had arrived expecting to find a charitable madhouse and departed with lucrative contracts and a nagging sense that he had somehow revealed more that they had somehow revealed more of their own business plans than they'd intended. More of their own business plans than they had intended. In the evenings, when the that blessed society gathered in the exquisitely appointed drawing rooms, Lady Montgomery would hold court with a grace that made her contemporaries seethe with jealousy. She moved through her social obligations like a chess master, each conversation precisely calculated, each introduction carefully planned. The young ladies who served tea might have once walked very different streets, but now they could, with much skill, discuss continental politics with diplomats while pouring their guests the perfect cup. The household ran on an intricate system of mutual protection and advancement. Those who proved themselves trustworthy found opportunities opening before them like magic, while those who betrayed the house's confidence discovered, often to their dismay, that Lady Montgomery's network of information stretched far beyond the estate's walls. Religious leaders, both Protestant and Catholic, found themselves unwittingly sharing tea and discussing charitable works, while their host skillfully steered conversations toward her latest social initiatives. Business moguls arrived seeking profitable ventures and departed having somehow agreed to fund educational programs for street children. It's rather like watching a spider spin its web, one duchess was heard to whisper behind her fan, except the flies all leave better dressed and better employed. The local gentry couldn't quite decide whether to be scandalized or impressed when their servants began requesting reading lessons, citing the Montgomery estate's example. Lady Montgomery merely smiled slyly and continued her work, building her quiet empire of redemption one reformed soul at a time. As darkness fell each evening, the windows of the Montgomery estate would glow with warmth and purpose, while in her private study, Lady Montgomery would review her household books, both the official ledgers and the other more interesting volumes that detailed her true business, the careful cultivation of second chances, wrapped in the respectable veneer of a great estate. Deep beneath the Montgomery estate's manicured lawns lay a network of medieval catacombs, officially used for storing the estate's legendary wine collection. Like everything else in Lady Montgomery's domain, these torch-lit passages served several purposes with elegant efficiency. More than one desperate soul had found temporary sanctuary in these cool stone corridors, hidden from creditors, Protestant iconoclasts bent on hunting down every last Catholic, or worse, until Lady Montgomery's carefully laid plans could take effect. The catacombs had their own hierarchy, governed by Old Tom, a man who had once burgled these very passages, and now guarded them with fierce loyalty. The gardens and grounds presented a masterpiece of horticultural artifice, where every natural vista was carefully engineered by workers whose previous experience with plants had often involved scaling walls rather than pruning them. The head gardener, Mr. McPherson, had once been known in less respectable circles as Spider, for his ability to climb anything vertical. Now he taught his craft to others while maintaining the estate's extensive ivied walls and kitchen gardens, which somehow produced enough surplus to feed half the poor families in the county. The groundskeepers ostensibly employed for their strong backs included former boxers, discharged soldiers, and others whose physical capabilities had previously been employed in less savory pursuits. Under McPherson's guidance, they learned to channel their strengths into creating beauty rather than destruction. Lady Montgomery's philosophy regarding her staff was simple yet revolutionary. Once accepted into the estate's embrace, none need ever fear abandonment again. Those who chose to stay found themselves aging gracefully into positions of increasing importance and comfort. The former chambermaid, who now served as a housekeeper, had her own suite of rooms, a pension plan that would have impressed a banker, and a small army of young protégés learning the arts of household management. Those who dreamed of independent ventures found themselves subtly prepared for their future endeavors. A footman with a head for numbers might find himself assigned to assist with the estate's accounts, then introduced to merchant contacts before finally receiving both capital and connections to establish his own business. A kitchen maid with talent for organizational systems might end up managing one of Lady Montgomery's many charitable enterprises, armed with both skills and social connections that would have seemed impossible in her previous life. The transformation of souls at the Montgomery estate became something of a legend in certain circles. Those who arrived with eyes downcast and shoulders bowed by life's cruelties found themselves gradually straightening, their gazes lifting to meet the world with renewed confidence. Lady Montgomery had an uncanny ability to see potential hiding behind layers of desperation and defeat, and her patience in nurturing that potential was infinite. All one needs... I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Let's see. Just a little bit. There we go. Let's see. The drawing rooms of London and Canterbury alike buzzed with speculation about the Montgomery's mistress and her methods. Anglican bishops would hold forth at length about how Lady Montgomery exemplified Protestant virtues of industry and self-improvement, though they'd furrow their brows at what they deemed excessive expenditure on questionable artistic pursuits. More than one lecture was disseminated directly about how her patronage of failed poets and mediocre painters would surely lead to financial ruin, conveniently overlooking how many of these same artists went on to establish respected academies or produce works that sold for handsome sums. Meanwhile, in Catholic circles, her name was spoken with a mixture of admiration and concern. Such a beautiful soul, they would sigh, with such refined appreciation for God's glory in art and music. These same voices would then darken with worry over her business acumen, suggesting that one could not serve God and Mammon, particularly when Mammon arrived in a carriage wearing a banker's coat. They seemed entirely they seemed to miss entirely that many of her wealthy contacts left her presence considerably poorer, their fortunes diverted into schools, hospitals, and workshops that transformed lives. Skipping a little bit further, I just wanted to make sure I hit that part. In the end, she remained an enigma to both her critics and admirers. Too Protestant for the Catholics and too Catholic for the Protestants. Too businesslike for the philanthropists and too charitable for the businessmen. But to those who found refuge within her estate's walls, she was simply a living example of faith expressed through works, grace manifested in ledger, books, and second chances. God's love revealed in both beautiful art and beautiful opportunities. Her only comment when such discussions arose was typically a quiet, "There is still work to be done," before returning to whatever task was at hand. Whether it was reviewing a new artist portfolio, analyzing a business proposition, or teaching a former street thief to read the Bible for himself. That was it. And
Right.
yeah. Thoughts?
I have something immediately to add. The thing that really, this character is formerly Protestant, right?
She is currently Protestant because currently the mass is just like within 10 years legalized in Britain. So she is formally a part of the Anglican Church. But she has people of all kinds of different denominations in her employ. She herself her philosophy is Christian above denomination.
Yeah, so the thing is, the Catholic opinion of her doesn't make much sense.
Mm-hmm. For the time
Catholics,
or period?
I don't think it would make sense for the time. I'm not too studied on this time.
Okay.
But it sounds like a more a more believable opinion to my ears is that they would have a good opinion of her, and the concern is the fact that she is Protestant, that she's not Catholic. I wouldn't see so much concern about her business acumen.
That might be true, but keep in mind during this time, Catholicism was gaining momentum. By 1829, they had the Maine Catholic Relief Act, which basically allowed for them to actually hold Protestant or hold parliamentary positions, but it had been outlawed for quite some time. And
what I'm saying is that Catholics aren't very
unless you're Franciscan
of having wealth in and of itself, unless you're a Franciscan,
right? Which is what I'm thinking when I wrote that.
About. But the thing is, lay Catholic opinion would not be dominated by that kind of thing. I think.
Don't think that is correct, because we're talking about a woman who is having men come over to her house by themselves.
There is that.
This isn't a
that is a point you could go for, but the focusing on the business acumen doesn't sound.
I'm not sure about the business side of it, but I do know for a fact that up until I want to say the early 1900s, 1910s, somewhere in there were still states in the U.S. that did not allow women to have a single woman to have a single man in their house by themselves together.
Right. Okay, well that's a good one to mention. The other thing is she is a widow, so I feel like there's a little bit of leeway there with certain things, but yes. So any which way,
maybe
thoughts?
From a public standpoint, but from a legal standpoint, she would be viewed the same.
Well, I would argue more from a legal standpoint because she owns the house like she's a landowner.
Yeah, the problem there is going to be that you can inherit property, and it's not a matter of whether or not you're a landowner, blah, blah, blah. It's a matter of the morals of having a male alone in your house with you for whatever reason.
This is a very easy issue to fix. She has a bunch of servants.
True. Yeah.
He always has her steward with her.
There you go.
You haven't established that, but you very easily can.
Yep. You're right.
So,
other thoughts
like,
on the concept of the house?
If this is the problem, then you can very easily fix it.
Any other thoughts on the concept of the house?
I've already given you my thoughts, personally.
I have you spoke with me about this last night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily want to have an issue with the concept of the house. I just like how you wrote that. It's very much not your normal wheelhouse, so I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
Writing that out. So, for what little it's worth...
Go. Sorry.
For what little it's worth, encouragement on that front. I don't...
You don't what?
The only thing that might help with everyone's issues with it is yeah, you have some problems to solve. Okay, fine. You might want to I don't know where in the story this is going to start, but you might want to do what we
Mm-hmm.
always tell Ian and show, not tell.
Right. Yeah. This was exposition on purpose.
Yeah. The point of this is to be practicing his prose instead of dialogue and stuff like that. That's the exact same issue that I brought up with him.
Yep.
I said this is very, very telling, not showing, which is odd because you're generally very good at that. And he's like, that's that's not what this is supposed to be. This is not final. This is not going anywhere. Parts of it will, but this is just him practicing the prose voice.
The thing that I was particularly proud of was several of the asides that were meant to be humorous, but most specifically the Duchess saying it's like a spider web, but all the flies go off better employed, and all that kind of stuff. So better dressed and better employed. I thought that was a really good one. I was proud of. Abigail, are you ready yet?
That is good.
We shall see if she is. But yeah, go ahead with Brendan. What you were saying?
Oh no, I affirm you, sir. You do gooding. You gooding do. Done well. Oog. Brain no function.
Daniel, did you have anything?
Sorry, I had to check out. I had work stuff that
it's all
was
good.
This close to being finished.
Yeah, give me your thoughts when you hear the broadcast.
Will do.
Abigail, are you still there?
I'm trying to private message her.
Thank you for that. Hum. He's humming.
Say something witty.
Sorry. I have losers stuck in my head.
If you can.
How things been, Alex?
Things have been good. We had a get together earlier tonight, and we played categories, and Debbie and I won by a blowout. 28. The next highest was 19 over 3 rounds.
Ooh.
Nice.
It was fun. It was really, really good. I just like categories in general. Even when I don't win, I just really love the game. But yeah, it was good. The best answer that we had all night was it? But one of them was bodies of water, and the letter was L, and somebody just answered lakes, which is A+ technicality. And then we had a what was it? The letter was K, and the thing that we were trying to figure out was something that people wear. And my amazing, lovely, incredible wife came up with Ku Klux Klan hood. Triple. It was so great.
Dishonor on you? Dishonor on your cow?
The cow being dug. Oh.
Yes. So, yep. She came up with that, and I love her dearly.
All right. Well,
still no luck finding your glasses?
If Abigail is available, we'll go ahead and have her. I don't want to count her out. She's been waiting quite a while. So
her.
We can talk for a little bit while we wait, I suppose. I know you messaged her. If anyone else wants to message her just to check.
I don't actually have a wine here, love.
So, yeah, I guess I can talk a little bit about Broodcast stuff and whatever else we're working on. Alex, Debbie, and I, and Brendan now a little bit too. Daniel has expressed his interest in helping a little bit, but we'll see if we can get that together. We're working on essentially moving myself to my own channel for my stories and my vlogs and video essays, and then having a Brood channel for all of the Discord shows that we do. That is an attempt to organize, to make things more clear, and to point everything toward Poets at War Press for, building that company. So, Debbie, feel free to talk if you're trying to talk.
Debbie is setting some other stuff right now. She's not joining us.
Okay.
Cool. At least I don't think she is. She might later, but I don't think she is.
Well, we have only Abigail left as far as things go, and we're trying to see if we can wait out for her.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's kind of what we're working on and working toward. I am working on the visual for my filming and for my office to try and create something that I can consistently recreate. Benjamin Curley, who has been on Poets at War before, a friend of mine and Brendan's, is going to be helping sometime in the spring help me get that sorted out. He's professional cinematographer, videographer person. So he's going to be helping with that.
Insanely good.
Yeah, he's insanely good.
Insanely good.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is so good at his job.
And so, yeah, I was playing with some light stuff tonight, and it kept getting darker and darker, and I just went ahead and turned on my regular light. That's batteries dying, I think. But whatever the case may be, we're working on it, and I appreciate you all waiting. We're going to be paying off our vehicle finally with our coming tax refund.
Tax return.
Yep. And getting a few things for the office, a few things here and there, but we're going to be out from under our biggest monthly cost, which is going to be wonderful. So hopefully with that we can save up and figure out more travel to come see you guys, go to conventions, that sort of a thing, and begin promoting my stuff and hopefully some other artists real soon. We really want to get the Wilsons on board. We really want to get Logo Sophia out there, Logo Sophia magazine. And yeah, so that's our hope, is to build something for you guys to where you can enjoy publishing when you make good stuff. So that's the hope. So, and we help with that and get you whatever you need. So,
But only good stuff.
Do what?
You said publishing whenever you make good stuff, and I said, but only the good stuff.
Well, I mean, we might do one or two that are like some part to fill out a library, but most of it's going to be good stuff. Yeah, exactly. We want the good stuff. So, all right. Ryder, I think, headed off when I was reading. He was very interactive tonight. That went well. I'm really happy he's involved.
He's such a good addition to this.
I think so. I really love his videos and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know when I need to cut this off for Abigail. I know that she's the furthest behind, so I'm really hoping that she can.
I think we should cut it here for the broadcast, and then if she comes back on soon, then we can start the recording again, and then stitch it back in at the end. But say cut here.
I want to get what. Yeah, I'm gonna edit you back into the show, so you can go ahead when you're ready. Just act like nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
chatter, random conversational pieces.
Okay. Yeah, so are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah.
Ready.
All right, so I was I had this dream the other day about it's really silly, so I'll skip the silly part and I'll go straight to the interesting part because it was about can you hear me all right, by the way?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. So it was a dream about the city called Obscura, and the city was it was the last stop of adventurers. So any adventurer of any kind, spies or people going off on quests or old soldiers, old pioneers, whatever, they would come to this city, and it would be their final adventure. They would face their nemesis for the last time. They would solve the final mystery that was hanging over them. They would hide the treasure they'd been carrying forever. Things like that. So they would deal with the last thing that they had to deal with before either dying in the attempt or retiring into normal life again. So that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And entirely from my dreams. It's a really great setting. So I was thinking it definitely needs to be turned into something that shows up in a series. Like, it would be a great series idea. Like, different stories. I mean, even an anthology, have different people writing in this city of Obscura.
Is that like a portal fantasy? Like this is a separate dimension?
I have no idea. I'd have to figure that out. But that's one reason why I'm bringing it to everybody here, because it would be interesting to brainstorm some ideas. But yeah, it's just like if it's in our world, then it's just a city where weird things happen.
So
And yeah,
So
or Edinburgh, or or like New York City or San Francisco.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in Obscura stays in Obscura.
Basically. Yeah,
the name just tickles a part of my brain. That is so
I
good.
know. It's a great name, and it is from my dream. It's I don't know. I the rest of anyway. Sorry. So many ideas. Okay. So yeah, it's a if it's in our world, then it is like just this place where weird stuff happens, because some places just strange things happen in them, and for whatever reason, luck is what would normally be called, but it's not luck. Obviously, God's in control, but it's still weird things happen to some people. So the city just happens to be the last stop for adventurers. Or if it's a different world, it could be a portal fantasy type thing where it's just like the central hub where people just end up going before they go home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be both. And I was thinking, I mean, I don't know. I have other ideas, but what do you guys think of that?
I'm just going to raise my hand here. You keep saying before they go home, and it's like an adventurer's final spot. Is it not like an afterlife type deal?
Like a what?
Like these adventurers have died and ended up here, or are about to die.
Uh, sorry. If they die, if they have died before they go, then obviously they go as ghosts. It is a real place. It could be the place where they meet their doom. You know, if they're going to encounter their final problem, then they might be killed
Is
in process.
is
Okay.
So a lot of
this
people.
is this city a like actual physical location, or is it one of those places that just pops up whenever an adventurer is going home? Like they've spent their life out adventuring. They have put up the adventurer's gloves. They have put up their weapons or whatever. They're on their way home, and there shouldn't be a city here. What is this place?
I don't know because either way,
I was watching a show. Sorry to interrupt. This will be my last thing. I was watching a show called From, where people from all over the country are traveling, and then during their travel, they come up on a tree that's fallen on the road, and for whatever reason, they all end up in the same town, regardless of where they're at. What if it's something like that? Anyway, last thing.
yeah, I mean, it could be that. That's I don't. I am not sure what I'm gonna do with this because it's like
Well, it could be a Brood anthology.
it could be. I mean, oh, that would be fun.
That'd be
Oh,
really
Uh,
fun.
that'd be so fun.
It
Like
it'd be really
Journeys
fun to do
to
like a
Obscura.
series of short stories. Yeah, Journeys to Obscura is a great name for it, but like a series of
yeah,
short stories that's just like this adventure's time in Obscura. This adventure's time in Obscura.
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
I already have one short story planned about a an old grandma who turns out to be a former adventurer, and her grandchildren come to her and they're like, we're being threatened by these people. They want this treasure, and we don't know what they're talking about." She's like, "Okay, fine, I'll take you there." And the story will be called "Return to Obscura." And
Ooh,
That's super cool.
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Very
it's
fun.
like it's so fun, and I
Oh,
definitely want to write like books set there. And
If you feel up to, I mean, it's your world. If you feel up to getting rules together for a an anthology, we will publish it and figure out like, I mean, put it out and do that sort of a thing. I know you have Havoc and other places that you do stuff, but I would be absolutely happy to publish this to the best of our ability, even though we're just beginning Poets at War Press. So
that would be fun. I mean, it would be great. Honestly, this needs to be an anthology. It would be a
yeah.
great open world to. Oh yeah. So moving on to my next idea for this. Isn't it a thing where you can have settings that people can do role playing games type stuff?
Yeah.
Like you
yeah.
can develop the
Yes.
setting and
So
we can
so
like.
um
Oh.
so
Oh.
so there's this thing called Forgotten Realms. The Forgotten Realms is a D&D campaign setting that, among other things, numerous books were written in, including one by an author by the name of R.A. Salvatore, who was
Yeah, I've heard
a
of him.
pivotal author when I was growing up. When I read his work, like he was the guy who I would like read books addictively for.
Yeah, I know
And
I've seen his name around.
yeah, he's a big fantasy author name. He's written tons of books in various different worlds, um, but among others, the one of the most popular is the Drizzt novels, which
Oh
take
yeah.
place in the Forgotten Realms, which is a D&D campaign setting.
Okay.
You also
I
have Eberron, Dragonlance, all these other realms, and they have different and D&D and Wizards of the Coast bought the rights, and you can play in those settings. So it's totally viable for you to make a setting and then say, "Hey, people, come play in my world."
Okay.
that
I
that
know I've seen that
definitely
kind
happens
of
a lot. I will say
thing.
one. if you're going to do that, you're going to have some difficulty marketing it, because the biggest D&D live play, actual play group, Critical Role, just came out with their new RPG that's called Candela Obscura. Just so you know.
They stole my name.
Yes. 10,000%.
I mean, the Candela Obscura, I watched like the first third of the first episode. It's much more in line with the like ideas I've been presenting with the Midnight Accord.
Yeah,
It's its own
I'm
thing.
aware it's different. The name is Obscura, though. You're going to get ratioed
Yeah.
to hell and back with SEO.
Yeah.
SEO?
I mean, for one thing, I'm nowhere near ready to market this thing.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a dream
I'm
that
just
I had like a week ago. So
yeah, I'm just making sure that you're aware. Love the idea. I'd love to play in an Obscura campaign setting. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that you don't like put a bunch of effort into this and then get sideswiped with, oh, there's already a massive amount of stuff for this thing called Obscura that is not my thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think if you were to have a longer name like Journey to Obscura, Return to Obscura, that kind of stuff, I think that would negate some of that.
Probably.
Yeah, it might help. Or even like City of Obscura or something like that. Just it can be refined a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
there are ways to get around it. I just wanted to make sure that was mentioned.
Yeah, and one thing that I definitely would want to do is to develop the rules and what the city looks like, how it functions, write some initial adventures that happen there, things like that, before I even try to market it as a campaign setting or anything like that. Because I know these things can go off in weird directions, so I'd rather have my own stamp on it first.
Definitely. Awesome.
I could really.
But yeah,
I love this idea. I'm already thinking of like a bunch of writers. Like you play as a bunch of writers from our world, like who get trapped there.
That'd be fun. It's like, oh, the ultimate research opportunities. Yeah, and it would be an interesting place to like. It would attract people like treasure hunters or bounty hunters, just looking for the people the adventurers who have like, oh yeah, there was this legendary treasure that was supposed to be hidden in Obscura. We've got to go and find it. That kind of thing. It has a lot of story potential.
Ah, that is so good. I love that so much.
Alrighty then. Well, I will stop that part of the record.
All right. Yeah. Well, everybody, be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you next time in the trenches on Poets at War. So there we go.
We're lying, reaching, warning, yeah. Our imaginations run wild and free in Middle Earth or Narnia. There's magic in what we believe.
This has been the Broodcast on the Poets at War Creative Network. Inkling-style Discord chat. Last Friday of every month. To join our ranks of writers and artists so you can share your works and skills, please visit joshuadavidling.com/brood.